Start our webinar. 5 more minutes we will wait and we'll start. Okay.
Ma'am, hello. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Yes, we are going to start the session. We had some technical glitches and we lost our internet connection and all. So I'm going to start the session. Yeah, I'll just share my PPT. Oh, no, no. Oh. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is my PPT
Yes,
is
ma'am.
visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, welcome. Namaste to all the participants. I'm welcoming you on the online webinar on instructional strategies for teaching children with special educational needs. This webinar, we are going to talk about instructional strategies which we are going to use for children with special education needs. Speakers are Dr. Nivedita Patnaik Madam. Madam is HOD, Department of Special Education, NIPID, and Dr. Usha K, Lecturer in Special Education, Department of Special Education, NIPID, that is me, and I'm going to start with my session. with the belief that all children can learn. As a special educator, as a teacher, we have a belief that we have to reach each and every one. When we say special educational needs, it refers to learners who are physical and developmental disabilities, behavioral and emotional communication challenges which they are facing it, and also learning deficiencies. Because of this, they are lagging behind in their learning aspect uh, up to their age level. So when we say developmental disabilities, this includes intellectual disability also. Intellectual disability, when the person or the child is diagnosed with intellectual disability, the child and the family also will be facing many problems. When we look at the child as an individual, he has a difficulty in remembering the things. His understanding ability is very low, and whatever the concept we are teaching, or whatever the things we are teaching even at home or at school or any other areas, remembering those things in a sequential way, they are finding it very difficult. We know our social roles, what is the society's expectation towards us, and we perform the roles without anybody's support. When we talk about persons with intellectual disability, understanding what is my role, what is the expectation of the society, that area they find it very difficulties. When we talk about communication aspect, any communication will happen when the messages was given from one person to another person. The receiver will receive the message, what to communicate, how to communicate, what angle I have to tell. All these area they are facing the challenges. Understanding how things work, and also in any situation any problem arises, how I have to solve the problem, which type of decision I have to take, whether it is correct, whether it is wrong, how I have to deal with the situation, that aspect they find it difficulties. If I do like this, what will be the consequence of my action? So is it is correct, appropriate way? Because if you observe the children or persons with intellectual disabilities, including their IQ level, they will be having some of the behavioral issues also. Some of the children will be exhibiting it. And logical thinking, when we talk about those areas also, they will be having very difficulties. So these intellectual disability is defined in one of the definition. If you look at AAIDD definition, it says an intellectual disability can involve problems with an individual functioning intellectually and adaptively. It can happen anytime before a child turns 18 years old. Their intellectual functioning, that area is the limitation we can see. Even in the deficits is observable in the adaptive behavior skills. When we talk about adaptive behavior skills, it includes conceptual skills, social skills, and also practical skills. As we earlier said, language aspect, reading aspect, writing, dealing with the money, what is the time now, what time I have to go for a school or for a work, time concept, understanding the things, numbers, which we use it for our day-to-day life for the calculation purpose and all. So I'm directing myself, self-direction, those aspect, understanding those things, they find it very difficulty. When we talk about social skills, dealing with the situation, intrapersonal skills, interpersonal skills, I have to build a very good relationship with other person, how I have to develop that particular relationship, what is my responsibility as an individual towards my family, or as an individual towards the society, toward the nation, what is my responsibility, those aspects they find it very difficulties. And also self-esteem, problem solving, roles, all these social things skills are lagging behind. They are finding difficulty to perform these skills up to their age level. So called, we say, no, normal persons and all, when we compare those performing these skills, they find very challenging for them. Practical skills, when we say, which we use in regular activities, day to day activities, like since from the beginning morning till the end of the night, or every day which we performs, it may be the self-help skills, even it will include the communication, social aspect, performing without anybody's support, that they are finding very difficulties. When we talk about the occupational skills, doing my own household work, or work if I am going out by without anybody's support, independently I have to perform those activities. Suppose if I have any fever or any cough or something like that, I have to approach to the hospital or the doctors. Time to time we have to go for a checkup, which we do it as a normal, so-called normal person. We do it. We go for a health checkup. We go for our BP checkup. We go for our sugar checkup. All these we do it without anybody's reminder. So all these also actually has to be taken care by the persons also. These areas, even if you take about time to time taking the medicine, or when there is anything emergency happens, approach to the hospital, all these things, they are facing very challenges. If I want to travel from one place to another place, I should know the location, where to travel, how to travel. Either I have to go by bus, or I have to go by train, or I have to go by auto, or anything. Like traveling aspect, when from this place to another place, if I am moving, how I have to go, even the direction, even the telling where I have to go to the other persons. And also, when we are buying the things, definitely we have to give some money has its own value. How I have to use this money, when I have to use this money, or some money where I have to keep myself, preserving the money, whether I have to keep it in the bank or safer side where I have to keep. And somebody is talking to us. See, if we are receiving the call, so nowadays we are get used to the mobile phone and all, receiving the message and from the other person and passing the message to another person, or somebody ask any information, guiding them or giving them, all these skills and aspects, a persons with intellectual disabilities are facing the challenges. So we have to address their skill area, deficit area also, because as we know, each individual needs are different, abilities are different. We have to teach the skills according to their need and the ability. So different skills we can taught them. And also, when we talk about them, they are having the different level of severity level, that also limits their performance level. They require supports to perform certain tasks. The support can be provided at different level and also in the different areas. This support requirement was beautifully explained in one of the definition, that is AMR definition, which we know, which nowadays now it is said at AAIDD. That definition is based on the extent of the support that individual requires to function in a natural settings of home and community. The so-called natural setting, what is my duties, what I have to perform. It may be at a classroom level, or at home, or when I go out. Everywhere we have to perform many activities, many skills we have to do it. But for them, the persons with intellectual disability, to independently perform those skills, that is restricting them because of so many areas they are having the deficits. So we can overcome this challenge. Definitely the support we have to provide to the children, and we have to provide the support in such a way, step by step manner. If we provide the support, definitely children can excel. They can learn many of the concepts many of the skills can be taught. That is a challenge for a teacher also. It's a challenge for all the family members also. It is learning aspect. It is challenge for themselves also. They can learn, but what is happening is we have to provide a extra support to them in the form of different teaching strategies or different techniques we can use, methods we can use. Like that, we can provide the extra support to the children, and each support which the persons is involved in providing the support to the children may be different type of needs they may be having it. That needs we have to address it. So when we talk about support level, it is also defined in the AMR definition like support means it includes all the resource support. When we say the resources, it includes all the material support, human resource support, all support we have to provide, and also strategies to deal with the problem areas, deficits area, keeping in individual child in mind. We have to implement different strategies to deal with and overcome with that particular problem, because ultimate aim of any education or any special education is to achieve, make the child to achieve the goal, and for the promote the development in all the angles. So development, overall personality development of the child, and also support will be provided in the different areas, like it may be in the education part, it may be dealing with regular day to day activities, it may be enhancing their interest, maybe engaging them in the leisure time activity, understanding their interest, motivating them, inculcating interest in them. Ultimately, we have to make them a very good, independent person, independent human being. We have to focus on the personal well-being of persons with intellectual disability. Like we have to provide a support to the persons. It can be provided. Actually, all should be involved. As when we say the support system, all the stakeholders, parents, it may be friends, teachers, psychologists, therapists, all the family members, siblings, neighborhood people, it may be social worker, a caretaker, all the people who are regularly having the contact dealing with the persons with intellectual disability, they can provide the support. Even if it is younger age and or even pediatrician, doctors, and whoever will be the persons interacting with the people, they can provide the support. Even we can include agencies such as organizations which are working for persons with intellectual disability. They are also providing the support in one or the other angles. So like that, they require supports at different levels. When we talk about levels of support, the four levels of intensity of support is explained in AMR definition also. First level is intermittent support, and second level is limited support, a third is extensive support, and fourth level is pervasive support. When we say intermediate support, this type of support is actually need basis. Whenever there is a need, during that time we have to provide the help, or we have to provide the support to the persons, like performing in the few activities. As a teacher, if you take the children at this type of support level, they will be performing their other activities. It may be personal activities. Up to some extent they are independent in doing that activity, but our support will be required in performing the activities which has comes under the academic area. Example, any academic area, any reading, in that reading particularly some of the sight word reading or something like that. Those areas we need to provide the support. It will be for a shorter duration we can provide the support. One, they have to understand the things, they achieve it. After that, maybe some other activities, again another activities, we have to be there with the persons. When we talk about limited support is, it is for a few areas. It is for different areas we can provide the support. Intermediate support is the least support. It is limited support, is it will be for a longer duration, performing the academic skills or the social skills, communication skills. All these areas, they require a support. Compared to intermediate support, it is for a longer duration. When we talk about extensive support, it is required at least in new environment. So it includes all type of skills, performing all type of skills. So we have to support. As I earlier said, stakeholders, all the stakeholders, teachers, family members, or community people, anybody, everybody can involve in providing the support system. This is the pervasive support, is the last level. These support should be provided in multiple level, multiple environment, performing the skills here at home, there at school, or at community, or when I go to my other grandparents place, everywhere, any new location, new places going. So for that time, whatever the skills we are performing, for all the skills the persons will be require the support. Or we can say to day activities, it is a extensive, it is a highest level of support for performing the activities of day to day life. Also pervasive support is required. So as we earlier said, students with intellectual disability, having this type of disability and having this type of difficulties, but still they can learn like other peoples. Only thing is, from our side, we have to provide a well-planned instructional strategies. As we said earlier, because of their poor memory, they cannot retain the information for a longer period. The repeated instruction is very much essential, and for repeated instruction with well planned instructional strategies, we can address the needs of the children and we can make them independently doing the task in their life. So instructional strategies, when we talk about students with intellectual disabilities, when we use some of the instructional strategies, it is nothing but, as a teacher, we use regularly some of the techniques, and we teach, by using that techniques, we teach lot of skills which covers all the areas of development, and which will make the students to perform their activities or the skills independently without anybody support as much as possible. So instructional strategies, why we have to use, because it is motivating the students. It will motivate the students to perform the activity. As we earlier said, doing on their own, they find it difficulties. Using the strategies, different techniques, if you are using it, that will make them to involve themselves in the activities. And attention span we can increase, or we can make them to focus on certain skills, and they can do the activities. What should be activities should be done, or after this task what I have to do, or in the task itself what next. That organizing the information also, it is very difficult, because they cannot, we have to provide the repeated instruction. Retaining the information for a longer duration is difficult. So this also can be, some extent we can make them independent. We can make them independent in the sense, make them learn certain skills, like which we feel it is a very small things, but for our children with intellectual disability, it is a challenging task. So by using the strategy, different types of strategies and all, we make them to reach that level, and it will be making them to easy learning or smoother learning strategies. Many strategies can be used. Ultimately, we have to make them independent, and to be a successful learner, we can we have to depend on different teaching methods, which we have to use it, and different learning materials, which on the need based materials, we have to get the material from outside, or most of the time we develop the material. We ourselves prepare certain materials, and also we have to provide the opportunity for the persons, whatever the skills they have learned, they have to perform the skills in another situation. That transfer of skills, that has can be enhanced. And also different teaching strategies we can use to teach the persons with intellectual disabilities. When we say teaching strategies, it includes different teaching strategies. It is task analyzers, modeling, chaining, shaping, reinforcement, prompting, and fading. So one of the teaching strategies, when we look at the teaching strategies, in order to perform any activity the child has to, or the person has to perform, we have to, we need to support with the task analyzers. The task analyzers, I would like to give a one example here. Just wearing slippers, it looks very simple for us. Daily we wear the slipper and we go out, but just wearing a slipper also includes different subtasks. If you stand near the slipper, you have to identify your own slipper, and you have to identify right and left side of the slipper, and we have to insert the correct foot in this one slipper and inserting the foot in the other slipper. This is a broader way of divided the task into subtasks. So this can be further divided depending upon the current level of the child. So task analysis, when we say, as we are given the example of this, wearing the slipper, that is the task are divided. It is nothing but the process of breaking the skills into teachable components and arranging them in a sequential order is known as task analysis. As a teacher, we use this task analysis to teach the children different skills. It works as a blueprint for instructional or teaching purpose, through which a student can proceed to achieve the goal. See how we have to perform the task analysis. We have to determine the steps which are involved in performing the task. How we have to do it is, we have to observe a competent person who is doing the task. Any task if you take, then we have to note down the steps in the task. So it is nothing but, it is called as watch a master. It is one of the method which we use in the task analysis. Another way of analyzing the task is, teacher can perform the skill and they can note down all the steps. Performing herself or himself the task and making the notes of each task, that is a task. So that this type of this method is known as self-monitoring. And another way also task analysis can be done, that is a teacher can think about the steps involved in the task and note down the steps. Here the teacher is thinking, it is nothing but we are doing the brainstorming. Like this way we can divide the task, we can note down the steps in the task. So this task analyzers can be, we would like to show a video on this particular aspect, task analyzers. I would like to request Bhupender to just play a video. Bhupender, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, you just, I will stop my sharing PPT and you can just share your video.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can, sir.
Yeah, good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Ma'am is there?
Speak. Bhupinder, please finish fast.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. As we have seen in this video, that one child is performing a particular task where the child is brushing her teeth. So whenever we are working with children with special needs, and especially when we talk about children with intellectual disability, they have limited skill to learn the particular skill, to retain the task, or whatever they have learned, they have difficulty to recall the steps and perform the same thing in front of other people. So for that, when we are teaching the skills to children with special needs, we have to break down the steps because they cannot learn the whole task at together. So task analysis is nothing, it's just a simplifying the procedure of teaching behavior object into a small steps where the child can learn the task, where the child can perform the same task in a same manner. So for that, we are using a task analysis. As ma'am have told all the things that how we have to use the task analysis and how we used to make the task analysis, where we have different method to analyze the task like watcher master, self-monitoring, and brainstorming. So these are the simple steps. When we have to teach any steps, any particular task for children with intellectual disability or children with normal intelligence also, we are using the task analysis. We are breaking the steps, we are breaking the task, and we are teaching step to step where the child can get a mastery into that particular skill. For that, we are using the task analysis. Thank you. So, ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am?
Thank you, Bhupender, for sharing
Thank
the
you,
video
ma'am.
which you have developed. We are going to continue our session. I'm once again presenting my PPT. I'm just sharing my PPT. Yeah, I think the PPT is visible. Yes, Bhupender, you have rightly said. We have to divide the task into simpler steps which we can teach the children, because anything we say that behavior is observable. So the steps, while child is performing the steps, we can observe the performance of the child. We also will come to know what exactly the current level of the child, which from which task onwards I have to start my teaching. All this will be given the idea if you do the task analysis. Our next strategies will be explained by HOD Madam, Dr. Nivedita Patnaik Ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes.
Present.
Next teaching strategy. Good morning to all.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning to all. Next
Good morning,
strategy
ma'am.
we are going to discuss is chaining. Task analysis has already been discussed. That is the basis for all our teaching strategies, most of our teaching strategies, and very specifically for children with intellectual disability due to the low cognitive functioning. And task analysis is not only a teaching strategy, but it is an approach to teach. So based on this teaching strategy of task analysis, we have many more teaching strategies, and chaining has its basis on the task analysis. Here also, chaining means it's a process by which each of the subtasks is linked to one another. The first thing we have to do in chaining, listing the steps of a task one after another in a very sequential manner and piece them sequentially. Many a time we find that chaining, it can be interdependent chaining. As you were seeing the photograph, it is the previous task is dependent on the next task. So the student has to be taught the first step, then the second, then the third. That is called as interdependent. And the other type of chaining is independent chaining, where the task, I'll just discuss about very little on the independent and interdependent chaining. You have seen that interdependent chaining and independent chaining is there will be a number of tasks which are arranged in sequential order, but each task can be performed by the student not performing the previous task. That is called independent. The tasks are to be performed, the subtasks are to be performed, but it need not be dependent on the previous task. For example, when we are teaching a student how to eat rice, mixed rice and dal, when we are making the steps for it, making the subtasks for it, we are making the child to either we are making the ball of rice ball and we are telling the child to take one ball, lift it to mouth level, put it in the mouth, chew it, swallow it. Isn't it? Here, the first step, that is taking the rice, mixed rice ball, is necessary to lift it to mouth level. And this is necessary to put it in the mouth. Then only we can chew and swallow it. So these tasks are interdependent. So the previous task is necessarily to be taught before going to the next task. But think of a child when we are teaching the child to go and eat in a restaurant. So in that particular task, eating or finishing the complete meal in a restaurant, here it's not necessary that the child has to eat the jeera rice with dal first, or he has to eat the chapati with the curry, or the other side dishes which are ordered for them. So here the previous task is not necessary. We are emphasizing on completing the meal which is given to the child, because he has already been taught how to eat each of the things. So it is in each task completing the rice with the curry, completing the fried thing which is given, completing the Manchuria which is given to him, raita which is given to him, and roti with chicken which is given to him. So here we are not deciding that this is to be done first and this is to be second, this is to be third. But our task is to teach the child to complete the meal which whatever has been given to the child. That is called as independent chaining. Each task the child has to perform, but each task is performed independently, isn't it? So this is known as interdependent. So chaining is of two types, interdependent and independent. But when specifically we are trying to teach our children at a younger age for those who are having intellectual disability, we usually try to emphasize more on independent chaining method. Okay, and each of the steps, after listing down the complete task, we have to sequentially put them together, and we have to teach one after another in a sequential manner, but we have to teach each one to the end to complete the task. See, here we are not teaching one after the other. We may be giving in between support in performing the second and third and fourth task, but we are seeing that the complete end of the task is done. Okay, so this is about chaining. Now, and as all of you know that we can have forward chaining as well as backward chaining. Remember that the basis of chaining is also task analysis. Now we request Josna to present the video on chaining. We will be showing the example of interdependent chaining, and she'll be explaining how we can go for forward and backward chaining. Welcome to Ms. Josna for presenting your chaining video. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Ma'am, can I start, ma'am?
Please.
Yes. Good morning, all. I am Jolsna R. Nair, a special educator. Today, I am going to discuss on the topic chaining. Okay. So, we can teach any difficult or complex task to a child or to children if we are dividing the task into different simple steps. Okay. And in chaining, what we are doing? In chaining, we will select a task. We will into several simple steps. That is task analysis. Okay. And in chaining, we will link these each step together. Means already we are dividing this step, second step, third step, fourth step, like that it will be. And we will link these steps together in a sequential manner, and we will teach the children. Okay, and there are two types of, mainly we are using two types of chaining. One is forward chaining, another one is backward chaining. And in forward chaining, we will teach the child the first step first. Then, after learning the first step, we will introduce the second step. then the child will do the first and second step, then we will introduce the third step, then the child will do first, second and third step. Like that it will continue till the task is finished. Okay, this is forward chaining. We are moving from first to the last. And in another case, that is backward chaining, what we are doing is we teach the child the last step first. Okay, then we will teach the second last and last step, then the last 3 steps. Like that, from back we will come to the first step. Okay, so this is about forward chaining and backward chaining. Now I am going to show you a video which will demonstrate how can you do forward chaining and backward chaining. Is it visible? Hello?
No, it is not visible. I think it's coming. Give some time.
Okay.
Yes, start now.
Okay.
The activity I have selected here is hand washing, and materials needed are water source, soap and a towel. Task analysis for hand washing are: open the tap, rinse the hands, take the soap, rub it on the hands, keep the soap back, spread the soap all over the hands, wash off the soap, close the tap, take the towel, dry the hands and keep the towel back.
Forward chaining. How to teach hand washing through forward chaining. Nakshatra, see how I am washing my hands. See here, open the tap, rinse the hands, take the soap, rub it on your hands, keep the soap back, spread the soap all over your hands, wash off the soap, close the tap, take the towel, dry the hands, and keep the towel back. You understood? Can we try? So in forward chaining, the child will do the first step of the task independently and other steps the trainer will help. Okay, Nakshatra, can you show how you are going to wash your hands? First, what do you need to do? Take the soap, wrap it on your hand, keep the soap back, spread it all over your hand, wash the soap, close the tap. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Doing the first step independently and we need to reinforce the child. Other steps, what we can do, we can help the child. If she needed help, we can help the child. We can use physical prompt or we can use verbal prompt, like that till the task is finished. Okay, then we will link first and second step. The child will do the first and second step independently. We will reinforce. Other steps the trainer will help. Now I am going to backward chaining. Backward chaining. How to teach washing through back chaining. In backward chaining, the child will first learn the last step of the activity. So let us see how through backward chaining hand washing is happening. Yeah, let us start. Open the tap, rinse the hands, take the soap, rub it in between the hands, keep the soap back, spread the soap all over the hands, wash off the soap, close the tap, take the towel, dry the hands, then very good. So the last step, that is keeping the towel aside, the child is doing independently. Now next step, the child will do the last and second last step together independently. Okay. Like that. Wash it out. Here, drying the hands and the towel aside is done by the child independently. In next step, last 3 steps the child will do independently. Start. Open the tap. Like this, the activity will continue till the whole step of the task will be completed. Okay.
Yeah, shall I tell you? Thank you so much, Jyotsna. Thanks for your video and your explanation. Thank you so much. So I'm sure the participants followed the steps. See, the thing is that when we are teaching using chaining through forward chaining, as such, we have to take the base as task analysis. And in the task analysis, we have the steps number 1 to nth number. It can be 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So when we are going through forward chaining, as she has already pointed it out through the video, we go from the first step to the 12th step in a sequential order, and in between we are giving the reinforcement for the step what the child is doing, and wherever it is required we are also giving the support, assistance. But when we are coming to the backward chaining, here most of us find we get confused. Here you see, when we analyze the steps, the task from number 1 to number 12, in backward chaining, we start the task from number 12 and slowly, step by step, we go from 12 to 11, 11 to 10, like that we go up to first. And in a similar manner, here also, we are giving the reinforcement, wherever required, the assistance is provided. Many a time, most of us get confused. If we ask anywhere, give the example of a forward chaining and backward chaining for wearing the socks, we get the response that forward chaining means we wear the socks and backward chaining means removal of the sock. But it's not the case. Only wearing the sock itself is a task, and that we can do both in a forward chaining manner and also backward chaining manner. Thank you, Jyotsna. Thanks for explaining beautifully through your video.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
We'll
you so
go to
much.
the next one. Shaping. next teaching technique we are going to discuss is shaping. Shaping, you see, as I told from the very beginning, for each and every task which we are going to teach to the child with intellectual disability, specifically due to the cognitive deficit of a children, it is really difficult for them to understand. And for us, it's very easy when we are saying, buttoning kar lo, you button your shirts. That single word of buttoning is not a single step for the child. It has 10, 12, even those who are very low functioning, it may go up to 20 steps if we slice it down. So here for shaping also we have to go step by step manner, and shaping is nothing but reinforcing the successive approximation to the target behavior. That means we have to analyze the task into its subcomponents, and as the child is, even if the child is not performing the task, his or her slightest attempt to each of the subtasks should be reinforced. That is what it is called, because when we go from the first step to the end, we are slowly moving towards the target behavior. Okay, so for example, if we are making the child to drink milk from a cup, when the child is sitting and looking at the cup itself is a positive behavior towards drinking milk from the cup. So that also should be reinforced. When the child is bringing the hand, even with the support of the trainer, towards the cup and trying to hold it, that also is going closer to the target behavior. That also has to be reinforced. So shaping means we are shaping the behavior in a very systematic manner, in a step-by-step manner, where each minute attempt of the child is reinforced in order to motivate the child to complete the task. Okay? And anyway, we are not discussing too much about it now, but we must remember that when we talk about shaping response can be shaped as well as the environment can be shaped. So both this can be shaped, which we'll discuss in another platform. And there are a number of steps in shaping. First, we have to select the behavior we want the child to perform. That is our target behavior. And in that, we must know where the child stands, which particular behavior the child is presently displaying towards the target behavior. From there, we have to start. And we must be very careful in selecting the reinforcers according to the preference of the child, and reward the initial behavior till it is established. Then we go step by step and reinforce each of the step of the child till the child reaches the target desired behavior, and reward the target behavior each time it occurs. Once the behavior is established, as all of us are aware, we have to slowly start giving the intermittent reinforcement. We cannot give the reinforcement on a regular basis after the target behavior is achieved. So once we may give the reinforcement, once we may not give, so that we can establish the behavior in a natural environment also. Now I request Mr. Gauri Shankar to show his video on shaping. Mr. Gauri?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. start your presentation.
No, no.
Introduce yourself and present.
I will discuss about special educator. As the about the shaping. In shaping, we develop a new behavior by the reinforcement of direct reward to the child. So it is a teaching technique or teaching strategy that involves a teacher, that involves a parents, and in shaping the parents and teacher reward the child, and that successfully improves the execution of targeting. So shape is not the task analysis. I have already told about task analysis. Task analysis means breaking down the target that into small substeps. Through this small substep, the child would move toward the final target behavior. So now I'm going to show you one video. So for understanding the shaping, and this video will help you with this strategy. So in this part of the video, we can see the present of the we can observe that the child has some behavioral issues like he doesn't have eye contact, he does not stand at one place for required time, and we can also observe that he is going here and there and touching ground things. Okay, so on the basis of this label, on the basis of this current label of the child, we have to choose one target behavior. So on the current level of the child, we have to choose one target behavior. Like we choose kick the ball as target behavior. Okay, so as this activity will allow the child to stand at one place for required time, and he has to pay attention to that activity. By this activity, he may develop eye contact also. Okay, so and it is also obvious that it will take a long time for the child to kick the ball in a specific direction, and it will be difficult to teach the child to kick a ball in one step. So it would be better for us if we break this activity in small sub-tasks. So here shaping start with task analysis. Okay, as I told you, analysis means breaking down the activity into small sub-tasks. Okay. Instead in this shaping, instead of presenting whole behavior at one time, see, because if we present whole behavior at one time, then it is possible that that does not show an interest toward the activity. So uh, we break down the target behavior into small subtasks. Okay. See, if our target here is to kick the ball, then we may divide the kicking ball into these 10 small subtasks. Okay, these are the some subtasks. First is stand near the ball. Second is gets closer to the ball. Third one is pushes the ball within any direction. Okay, and the last one is kick the ball in the specific direction. Now we will see this subtask how we can implement. So this is all about shaping. So we can see in this video that the instructor taught the child step by step, and the instructor gave reinforcement to the child after successfully completion of each step. As I see in this shaping, we have to give reinforcement after completion of each subtask. We can give some chocolate or surprise. We may also say good, very good, super to reinforce the child. And then after finally the child, see in this video we can see the child learn to kick the ball step by step in required direction properly with the help of reinforcement. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gauri. Thanks for your presentation. I'm sure that though we are not technologically very well off, our presentation was clarity was bit missing in our presentation, but the concept was given in a very systematic manner by all the three presenters, Mr. Bhupinder, Mrs. Josna, and Mr. Gauri Shankar. Thanks all of you. And as you have seen in shaping, you see a very small task has been taken. As you have seen, the child is having lot of problem behavior. So the target behavior was very properly selected, that is kicking the ball in specific direction. And we have noticed that when the child was coming to the field, how he was looking here and there, not looking at the ball. So coming, even if somebody has supported and holding the hand, the trainer has brought the child near the ball, that behavior also has to be reinforced, because that is a step towards kicking the ball. And after that, when the child focused his attention to the ball, that is the next step. And his attempt to kick the ball by lifting the leg, that's the next step. And then kick the ball. And I'm sure all of us have seen that reinforcement was given at each stage. And when the child has kicked the ball, he was given high five. Always we need not be giving the primary reinforcers. Many a time we have to use other types of reinforcers, and nowadays children are very, very familiar with this high five concept. So this is about shaping, and we must remember when we are talking about teaching techniques that not a single technique can be used in isolated manner. When we are using for teaching the children specifically with intellectual disability or developmental disability, we have to use number of techniques at the same time for teaching the same target behavior. That is the reason for all these three techniques. We have seen that we are using task analysis everywhere, and in shaping we have used assistance also, that is prompting. We are using reinforcement in all the three strategies. So single strategy isolatedly we cannot use if we want real improvement in the child. Depending on the requirement, depending on the needs of the child and the level of the child and the task in hand, we have to decide which techniques we have to make a combination and then use it for our training purpose. Then it will be useful. So I think three techniques we could cover up today. We'll see another platform for other techniques. I would request Dr. Usha, coordinator for the program, to give a compiled information. Over to Dr. Usha.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Nibagita ma'am, Bhupender, Gauri Shankar, and Josna. So today we have discussed about the teaching strategies, actually which which we use it in our regular ways. Is there any questions? Now it is open for questions. Participants, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question directly.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. Just one small query.
Yes, please, please.
Ma'am, actually, the presenter had clarified that there will be confusion when it comes to backward chaining and forward chaining. So similarly, I also have a little bit of confusion. The example that was presented in the video while washing the hand, the forward chaining is following the steps sequentially. But backwards chaining, it was said it is following it in reverse order. But in the video, it seemed almost a similar thing. So can you please just clarify that once again, please?
You want to see the video once again? Do you want to see the video or you want
No.
verbal clarification?
I just want clarification. I don't want to see the video, ma'am. I just want clarification.
What we can request the presenter to present the tasks. Can I request Jyotsna to present the tasks in her video? The first PPT, you have given the task from 1 to 12, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please present that.
Only the task analysis, no, ma'am. Task analysis.
That's all. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am, this will be shared later on the website also, the videos?
It will be shared in the YouTube. I think we are recording, so you will get it. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Forward chaining. Yeah. Ma'am, this is not from video, ma'am. This is another PPT. Means.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yes,
You show the tasks only.
Yes, yes.
Good question. Yeah, it's not seen.
Not see. Okay, okay, ma'am.
Even if you can just explain, ma'am, like
Yes,
the example that was given.
You know, the clarity will be there when we'll see the tasks. That's the reason I'm requesting.
Okay,
Only the task. We are not showing the video.
No problem. Actually, ma'am, the example that was given regarding the socks has really opened my eyes. Wearing the socks is forward chaining and taking it off is not backwards chaining.
Yes.
So that was what actually I was thinking, that taking it off is backwards chaining.
We'll just have a look. Then you see, that was the question. We are trying to share these teaching strategies out of our experience only, where the confusion arises among the students and the special educators. So we have given it, because many a time when we ask the students in different viva, if we ask, you give the forward and backward chaining of a particular task, they give the task wearing the socks is forward chaining and removing the socks backward chaining. We must remember that these are two tasks. So let us have a look at the presentation which is there on our screen. See, in washing the hand was the task for us. For washing the hand, we start with opening the task, that is number 1, rinse the hand, take the soap, like, yeah.
Sorry to disturb you and interrupt you. This one is a forward changing slide, isn't it? You're starting with the forward slide, changing slide.
Please keep it here only. Don't change it now.
Okay.
Yeah, this is backward.
Yeah, I will go to backward, ma'am.
Yeah. No. You saw the forward only.
First
then
one only.
we'll explain and then we'll go to
Yes, yes.
backward. You see, the red mark which is given in forward chaining, the task was analyzed and we could get 11 subtasks which are arranged in sequential order. And here in forward chaining, washing the hand, we start with opening the tap. Then we go to rinse the hands. Like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 11th we go in forward chaining. Okay. And in backward chaining, Josna, could we go there? In backward chaining, we, yes, you see 11 subtasks onwards we start. This is marked red. So we start the task, keep the towel back. Probably the trainer will give the, after completing the entire washing hands with support, the trainer will give the towel to the student and tell you wipe the hand. Even drying the hand also will be done by the trainer, but the child task only to keep the towel back in proper place in backward chaining. And we go to the next step where the student will dry the hand and keep the towel back. 2 steps. Next, the student will take the towel, dry the hands and keep the towel back. Next, close, the student start from close the tap. Then, you know, here what is happening when we are arranging in sequential order from 1 to 11, in backward chaining, somebody else, and this is done particularly for those who are very low functioning, just to help the student to get the satisfaction, self-feedback, we start the last step so that the feeling of completion of the task will give feedback to the child, will encourage the child, yes, I have done the task. That is the reason we only involve the child in keeping the towel back. So the child understood, I washed my hand, I completed the task. That is the reason we go from back to the front, and till 10th, somebody else will be supporting. But only the 11th will be done by the student, which is the easiest task. Keeping the towel is the easiest one, just to keep it back. Are you getting my point?
We got it.
Yeah.
Because it was in the video, it was missing, so we were confused by that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other clarification anybody wants?
Can I stop sharing this, ma'am?
Yes. 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 Yeah. You please stop sharing. Thank you, Josna. Sorry.
Any other questions? So if there is no question, we are going to wind up our session. I would like to thank all the participants and all the presenter to patiently listening to us. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have closed our session now. Once again, thank you to all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.